Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something that literally forms the skeleton of our modern world, steel. It's in our cities, our vehicles, our infrastructure, but this foundational material comes with a seriously massive environmental cost. So we're going to unpack one of the highest priority challenges we face right now in the push toward a carbon neutral economy. We're talking about the ultimate quest for green steel. 7 to 9%. That is the staggering share of all global carbon dioxide emissions that traditional steel production is responsible for right now. Just to put that into perspective for you, if the global steel industry were a country, it would literally be one of the top polluters on Earth. So yeah, the stakes are incredibly high. We simply cannot achieve a carbon-neutral world without totally reimagining how we produce this critical metal. All right, let's jump into Section 1, the massive carbon footprint. So let's look at exactly why traditional blast furnaces are the main culprits here. As you probably already know, these conventional furnaces don't just use carbon for heat. They actually rely on carbon-based coke as a chemical reducing agent to strip the oxygen away from iron ore. And because of this fundamental chemistry, producing CO2 isn't just some accidental inefficiency, right? It's an inherent, completely unavoidable byproduct of traditional iron making. Moving on to Section 2, the hydrogen-based breakthrough. Now, this is where the transformative pathway really opens up, and it's super fascinating. In the traditional route, combining carbon and iron ore inevitably gives you steel and CO2. But if you replace that carbon with hydrogen gas as your reducing agent, the reaction completely changes. The only chemical byproduct? Water vapor. That's it. It's a single, elegant chemical substitution that entirely eliminates the core source of those emissions. And this completely emissions-free process hinges on something called DRI, or direct reduced iron. Basically, DRI is the iron produced by reducing that ore with a gas like hydrogen, totally replacing the traditional carbon monoxide. Honestly, this is the absolute cornerstone material of the new green steel supply chain. But, of course, it's never quite as simple as just swapping the gas in old equipment and calling it a day. Hydrogen direct reduction is highly sensitive to iron ore quality. It requires incredibly high-grade iron ore concentrates to maximize efficiency and keep waste down. And this sensitivity is actually shifting global mining economics right now as we speak. Then, once you finally have this premium DRI, it's fed straight into an electric arc furnace where it transforms into finished steel. Which brings us to Section 3, powering the green transition. So here is the absolute crucial point. If we make that hydrogen using fossil fuels, well, we totally defeat the entire purpose. That's exactly why we rely on electrolysis, which is producing hydrogen by using electricity to literally split water. But to do this at scale requires a massive amount of abundant, low-cost renewable electricity. This strict reliance on green energy is why new hydrogen steel projects are physically clustering in regions that are already blessed with massive hydro and wind resources. A perfect real-world example of this geographical advantage is Sweden. They've really emerged as a global leader here by leveraging their abundant northern hydroelectric power. You've got the Hybrid project, which is this massive, fascinating pilot-scale joint venture between major Swedish steel, mining, and utility companies, and they're successfully proving that this hydrogen-based direct reduction actually works in practice. And that early leadership is heavily skewing the global landscape. Look at this projection. By 2030, a staggering 80% of global hydrogen-based direct reduction capacity will be located in Europe. That leaves just 20% for the entire rest of the world. So why the huge imbalance? Well, it really comes down to Europe's intense carbon pricing pressures and aggressive regional policy support pushing the market forward. All right, Section 4, the bridge to green. Now, heavy manufacturing can't just flip a switch overnight, so the industry is building a gradual, practical bridge. Lots of producers are actually starting out with natural gas-based direct reduction in their existing furnaces just to immediately cut down on emissions. Then, over the next few years, they can gradually dial up the rate of hydrogen being injected into the mix. It's a really smart, phased approach that basically buys time for all that green hydrogen infrastructure to scale up, targeting full hydrogen capacity by around 2030. Now, hydrogen might be the main event, but it is definitely not the only game in town. For one, carbon capture tech is being retrofitted to existing traditional blast furnaces to trap that CO2 before it even escapes. Looking a bit further ahead, there's experimental molten oxide electrolysis, which aims to reduce iron ore directly with electricity, completely skipping the hydrogen middleman. And right now, we're maximizing electric arc furnaces to melt and recycle scrap steel, which is basically the ultimate circular economy win. Let's move to Section 5, the economics of change. the biggest drivers actually forcing this transition aren't just environmental, they're intensely financial and policy-based. Carbon pricing mechanisms and border carbon adjustments are actively penalizing emissions. This is making traditional carbon-intensive steel increasingly costly, almost financially toxic to produce or import in major markets. So, investing in green steel is no longer just a good PR move. It's a literal economic imperative for survival. But meeting that imperative, it requires staggering amounts of capital. We aren't just talking about updating a few factories here. Step 1 requires massively scaling up renewable electricity generation. Step 2 means building entirely new hydrogen production infrastructure pretty much from scratch. And only then, in Step 3, can we actually update the steel plant equipment itself to use it. Guys, we are watching one of the most complex industrial overhauls in modern human history. Because of all that new infrastructure, right now, green steel commands a noticeable price premium. But the market isn't blinking. Major downstream buyers, think your massive automotive and construction giants, they are already signing offtake agreements. They are willingly absorbing that current green steel price premium today just so they can lock in lower carbon steel for their supply chains tomorrow. Which really leaves us with one critical question. The tech is proven, the industrial scale-up is happening right now, and major corporations are committing to it. But as this sweeps across the global economy, the ultimate question is, are we, as the final consumers, buying those cars and living in those buildings, willing to pay the green premium to build a truly carbon-neutral world? It's a massive challenge that is totally reshaping materials science. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer on green steelmaking. Next time, we are going to explore how steel is being engineered at the microscopic level to be lighter and stronger than ever before. You won't want to miss it. See you then.